Hey, I'm Brody Brazil, and welcome to Teal Town After Dark.
Well, it's not necessarily after dark. It's more like afternoon. But the San Jose Sharks fall in the Saturday matinee game against the LA Kings. And whoever decided to pick out the jersey schemes tonight, that's one in the jar, this evening is going to have to really get their eyes checked because, oh my gosh, contrast on the ice, not great. Sharks on the ice, well, not great till about 5 minutes left in the game. Anyways, I'm joined by my compatriots, AJ Strong. AJ, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing all right. No, it's clear whoever had the job to pick the color schemes for today was colorblind. This is a game you could have watched on black and white TV, wouldn't have known the difference.
Pretty much. And I'm also joined by Al Martinet. Al, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. Merry Christmas to everyone coming up.
Yes, it is. It's that kind of weird. I guess they got to try and get in some games before that holiday break because we've got this matinee game followed up by the Arizona game. And unfortunately, the Sharks fall in overtime 3-2 against the Los Angeles Kings. Sharks really, I would say, tiptoe into this game. They looked very out of sync, which is quite normal for them in the afternoon kind of game, and it certainly looked like it. The Kings just kind of came out pressing. AJ, what did you see in that first period?
I saw the Kings get off 11 shots in the first 6 minutes and completely dominate the first period. Meyer gets called for hooking at 3:30. It was just like, okay, so yeah, the boys aren't awake. It's a typical matinee display for Team Teal.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very prototypical of the way that this team plays on a matinee. Al, do you have any thoughts about it?
I mean, the shots were 11-2, and LA had a great power play to start up the first period, almost a flawless power play. And once they kind of scored on it, it really did set the tone for the first two periods, for the rest of the game going forward. LA is the last in goals scored, so they really did sit back and really did play defense throughout the rest of the period. Not much happened in the second period. Really, most of the action was in the first 3 minutes of the first and the last 5 minutes of the third.
Could not agree more with you. It seemed like the Kings really jumped out on the Sharks. Ilya Kovalchuk with his sixth goal. I don't know how many games he's played, but he's come off of his ankle injury. He was out for 8 games, something like that.
I thought it was more like 10.
So, yeah, I mean, Ilya Kovalchuk gets it on the power play, which, quite frankly, I mean, you think that the penalty kill for the Sharks is going to, kind of keep these guys to shots to a minimum, shot suppression to a minimum, kind of get those outside point shots, maybe let the Kings have those all day. But instead, they blow an assignment. Ilya Kovalchuk gets into the slot and – actually, it's more by the faceoff circle, but just one times it right past Martin Jones, and there you go. The Kings are off and away, 1-0 on a power play goal. And as AJ had mentioned before, that shot period, the shots on that first period is 15-8, and the Sharks, fall prey to another bad start. And, you just got to wonder what's going on with the guys here. Why are they not kind of getting into that game a little bit earlier? And it's always been a staple of the Sharks to really kind of whiff on a matinee. So you figured, okay, that this is typical Sharks. We'll see what it's going to be like in that second period. Second period, I mean, shots were tilted the other way, 6-13 in favor of San Jose. And they looked okay, I guess, but there wasn't really a lot of high danger chances. I felt like LA did a really good job of clogging up the neutral zone. Sharks were just really unable to get any kind of speed going through that neutral zone. And when they did get it into the offensive zone, it was just a one and done. There was a couple, maybe of the medium danger variety, that the Sharks, put on to Quick. But man, Quick played really well. I mean, this was a vintage Quick kind of game where you just thought, oh no, he's locked in, and the Sharks are not really going to get many looks and not get a lot of opportunity, because his rebound control looked pretty good, and he was really diving out on pucks throughout the entire second period. AJ?
I look at that in a different way. I don't think the Sharks were testing him enough. Getting back to Kovalchuk, he did miss 10 games. Tonight was 36 for the LA Kings. Kovalchuk, this was his 26th game. He also leads the Kings with a minus 13. So talk about a guy who came back. I mean, who had a hell of a game. That guy had some serious looks tonight. The one guy, this could have been so much worse if Kopitar wasn't snake bitten right now. But after the first, I was fully expecting PDB to activate the line blender, which he did in a big way. I mean, for the second, we start off with Carlson just drilling Wagner, and that looked like a clean hit to me. I'm not even sure why the reference had like their little conference call on the ice, and then you see Dylan and Luff go after each other to stand up for the boys, but I'm not even sure why that was a conference.
When you slow it down and look at the hit, it looks far worse, but in game action, it looks like a normal play. And
which leads me to wonder why they even had a conference.
So the conference, I believe, is that the player went back. I think the player was injured on the play. I don't think that there was going to be much of a conference if the player had stayed on the ice. I don't think that there would have been a second look at that. But I think when you've got the optics of a player going back to the dressing room, you've got a player that dished out a hit that is marginally, it's on the margins. I wouldn't say that it was necessarily a dirty hit. It didn't look like it. It looked like he got a shoulder first, and then it kind of continued into the head at the very, very end, if that. So I think, again, it's very marginal. But, I felt like they did the right call there. I don't think that it was a blatant headshot. I don't think he chicken winged him. I just think that he kind of, the guy wasn't looking, and Carlson got him.
And even though it was a 50-50 call, I do suspect Carlson is going to get one game for it.
No. I mean, star power, no. I don't see how they can do it.
And even Randy Hahn mentioned it on the cast. Erik Karlsson doesn't have any type of a reputation for that whatsoever. So
I understand that, but the way he looked getting off the ice might get him one game, and he looked really bad getting off the ice.
But we really start to have to ask ourselves, if the refs are not, because we saw it again today. And we saw that the refs were letting a lot of things go, and they were just letting the boys play, and when you set that precedent of, letting the boys play, kind of looser on the calls, not necessarily, calling everything that they see, you're going to get plays on the margin, because that's the way that the game is being called. And so where I'm getting to this is, we need to start giving onus onto the player getting hit more often. As Steve Cropper, thank you for bringing it up, he led with his face. He had his head sticking out forward. And he's released the puck, kind of going for that puck. He's going in there, not paying attention to who's coming up the ice, and he gets hit. And we saw Dylan lay that similar kind of hit on a backside pressure play. And Dylan, luckily it was kind of, up on up, where you had Dylan really go through the chest. So it was a really nice hit. But, we have to start putting onus on the players getting hit, because
I totally agree with you. I expect him to get some sort of fine or suspension, just because they want to set some precedent that it's not okay to have that type of hit in in National Hockey League. When you see Tom Wilson, I'm not saying Erik Karlsson is anywhere the character that Tom Wilson is, but they just want to make sure they don't have that image of it.
Yeah. AJ, I'll let you get the final roll on this before we move on.
The NHL no hitting league. This is silly. I thought it was a solid hit. You saw the hit earlier in the game, Kane on Doughty, and Doughty was smiling after it, and it was a solid hit. I mean, it was just, it's like star player on star player, and it was fine, but it was like, hey, okay, good hit, maybe I'll catch you later, and there you go. But and it's also that idea of when it is a clean hit, and then you see another guy. I get it when you jump up and defend a guy on your team if he was hit, if it was an obvious dirty hit, absolutely. But when you see just a solid hit and you see the entire bench lose their minds, it's kind of like, dude, this is how you play this game. Did you guys just forget that for a hot second or something? That part is ridiculous. But let's move on. Vandenberg would get a slapper at 8:09 of the second. DeBoer, only his second challenge of this season. I think we're all kind of shocked by that, but he would win it. Goalie interference is called after the boys call up to the war room in Toronto. No goal. And we tweeted out a poll on this, and the last I looked, it was pretty much 50-50 right down the line whether that should have been called a goal or should not have been called a goal. And be honest, I thought that was a goal. You switch the jerseys and you replay that back, and I would have been pissed off if the Sharks didn't get that goal.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where I think what they were seeing there was they were seeing Dustin Brown back into Martin Jones, make an initial contact. However, the thing that I see if I was a Kings fan and what I would be thinking there is, well, Jones was able to get set, right? I mean, he's able to get down into the butterfly and is able to, play his position and, try and make an attempt at that puck. And he was unable to get it. And if I was a Kings fan, I would say, wow, that was a perfectly executed screen. Not much more that you can do than that. But going back to the Sharks, on the Sharks end of that, you have to wonder, okay, is it perhaps Brown getting into the blue paint, making that initial, hit. Al, what did you see on that takeaway?
For the most part, on the takeaway, I thought it was a good goal. Like, I honestly didn't think it was much to the fact of Jones should have stepped up in that further. And thankfully he didn't do. He did the same thing he did against Winnipeg and sitting back in the net. And I'm surprised they called it back 50-50. But hey, DeBoer's 50-50 also this for the year also.
Right. Yeah, 1-1, right, on the overturns there. So the Sharks really dodge a bullet there because it could have been 2-0. And in that particular instance, I totally agree with you, Al, on Martin Jones not being correctly square and not challenging the shooter a little bit more. When Martin Jones is on his game, he's making his own space. He pushes guys aside. He is a physical goaltender when he's engaged. But when his confidence is not so great, I feel like he does kind of play a little bit shallow. He does kind of get pushed around a little bit. And it's something that I have seen this season. I think his confidence really goes up and down, up and down. And today, I don't think he was particularly great. I mean, you look at the shots on goal and you look at the goals, and it says that his save percentage is .903. So I didn't think he looked great. He didn't look bad, but there could have been a couple of saves where I really wish he would have been a little bit more aggressive. AJ, quickly, what did you see on Martin Jones? How do you see his play so far, and what did you see in respect to this game?
I thought, oh, by the way, breaking news for those of you watching a different sport, the Tennessee Titans just ended the game by picking off Washington to end the game. So
I just started Titans also. So,
but back to Martin Jones, my issue with him is I felt like he almost kind of overcompensated for the game he had versus Winnipeg, where a couple times he came too far out and overcommitted and overplayed. And so this time I was like, okay, no, I'm going to, take the 5 foot length of rope from the post to my ankle, and I'm just going to stay back. I am surprised he didn't sell like goalie interference. I'm surprised he didn't skate out and more to try to sell it. Or
pull a Mike Smith there where he flops over when Dustin Brown barely touches him.
Yeah, Ed Belfour. I mean,
Turco.
Geez. Yeah, Turco was.
Yeah.
Turco made a career out of that.
He made it in an art style. Let's put it that way.
He did.
No kidding. But soon after that, again, PDB would kick on the line blender. You had Hurdle pivoting LeBanc and Donskoy, Couture with Radil and Meyer, Jumbo, Kane and Pavs, and then Goodrow, Sorensen, and Melker. And I'm used to that line blender, but I'm like, okay, so we're going to put Hurdle back to center. And if you remember, that worked a few games ago where they put Hurdle at the pivot, and that got, I believe, either a tying or a winning goal when the boys weren't playing that well. So line blender went into effect. And then what happens towards the end of the second was 17-minute mark. Jeff Carter would trip Erik Karlsson, and you probably saw the most abhorrent power play quite possibly in Sharks history. The Kings held possession the entire time. They got all the shots on goal. They got all the looks. I don't even know what the hell was going on there.
Yeah, that power play, I mean, it looked like the Sharks maybe thought that the Kings were going to give up a little bit more space in the neutral zone. They thought that maybe the zone entries were going to be a little bit cleaner, but no, I mean, LA stood up at the blue line. I mean, poked out the puck every time that the Sharks got it in to the offensive zone. The Sharks looked really discombobulated. They got one shot on goal, I think, at the very beginning of the power play, and that was about it.
Yep.
The Kings pretty much spent the most of the time with the puck in the Sharks' end with some really, I mean, some pretty good chances on net. So, Al, what did you see from that power play, and just what is up with this power play and how it can go in fits and starts?
I mean, it kind of just depends on the team. I think against Winnipeg, they showed they were really great in space because it was 3-3, 3-2, back and forth. But when it comes to LA, they're never going to push up two people. They're always going to sit back. And I think what was really the turning point was LA getting the first goal. The Sharks really did not put much pressure on LA throughout this game at all. If this was a 3-1 game, the Sharks would have won it just because they have the offensive power. They're seventh most goals scored. I don't really blame Jones on tonight, but there's certain saves that he should have made, especially the Toffoli goal, the second one, that I thought was a little bit easy.
The Iafallo goal.
Iafallo goal.
But see, so I don't know that I disagree. When you give up 11 shots in like the first 6 minutes, that's not on the goaltender.
No, but that he was great in the first period, but the second and third, like,
So here's something that Dave B. Pilot brings this up. AJ, I just want to quickly go over this because this goes right into your point. The Sharks gave up 14 high danger chances tonight, and there it is again. But they only had 10 themselves, and so you're asking your goaltender now to make 14 high danger saves, and Jones has not been good. If you look down his save percentage across chances, he's not been great in the high danger chances. He coming into the game today, coming into the game today, it's still light out and I keep saying tonight, but he's rolling an .898 save percentage. I mean, AJ, I know you wanted to kind of continue on the goaltending. Take it away.
No, it's again. I thought I go back to the original point of this to me, and I've said it last game, probably the game before that. This was one that I thought Dell should have started. I wasn't, to me, it was the perfect game to start Dell. They didn't, that Dell's going to go tomorrow. So I know that it's probably, well, let's start Jones because, he used to play for LA, blah, 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 blah. I think it's silly. We are getting some quotes from the locker room. DeBoer on the Carlson hit on Wagner. DeBoer says, looked really clean. Kid coming across the middle. His head was down a little bit. I thought Carlson made contact with the shoulder. He didn't leave his feet. The kid took a couple runs at him earlier. Sometimes when that happened, or sometimes that's what happens when you do that. So,
yeah,
it's you're going to learn. Keep your head up when you go to pick on, a two-time Norris Trophy winner. If he gets the opportunity to nail you, he's going to take that opportunity. He's not going to hold up on that. So, live and learn and move on. But Dell, I would imagine, is going to go tomorrow. But I will say, it makes you wonder how much longer Dell and Jones can sit here and ride 900, floating right around 900, when Bebo and Cornash down in the A are playing very good hockey and making some great saves.
So here's a couple tidbits coming into the game also that I was really opened my eyes to was the league average this year coming into tonight's set of games, 907. That's the league average. Now, Jones posted a 903 today. And, we've been hearing about scoring being up. Well, it's playing out across the NHL, where if you don't have an elite goaltender and you just have, and we've always contended about Martin Jones, is that regular season Martin Jones is average to maybe at some points above average, but right in that average round. He posted a 903 save percentage tonight, and the league average is 907. That's in and around where he should be.
Yeah.
But AJ brings up a great point. Cornash and Bebo have both been carrying the Barracuda. And I mean, if it weren't for them, they would not be where they are. I mean, because
I don't know. I mean, that's definitely part of it, but the Cuda, they're like regularly scoring 4 or 5 goals a game. I mean, they're putting up offense.
I still think the goalies are still adjusting to having smaller goalie pads. I know we're almost 30 games into the season. 36. But, for elite goalies, they're always going to stand out. But for the second tier, which is definitely Martin Jones, he's definitely going to be more affected than the rest. And scoring is up because of their small goalie pads now. And I think it's going to take a year to adjust for goalies, and we're just going to have to kind of deal with it. I don't think Dell and Jones or Chubbs or, they're always going to be in with the Sharks. Unless I think Dell is the only one you could possibly be moved.
I'm waiting for, at this point, Jones to just feign injury and figure out a way that they can give him some conditioning at the Barracuda level.
No, and you bringing that up as a great point, AJ. I mean, you're saying it tongue in cheek, but at this point, I mean, we've got to wonder, okay, what is it about Martin Jones that it's, his reads are not great right now. His confidence is pretty low from what I'm seeing just in his physicality and in the way that he's playing the position.
He might be in his own head because he doesn't have a lot of confidence in the defensive play in front of him as well.
Yes.
Maybe thinking that he needs to be better than he actually needs to be because the defense keeps, I mean, we're obviously going to get into overtime, but holy hell. I mean, and how many breakaways were there? I mean, it's just when you keep doing that, I mean, come on.
Yeah, Rob Iman just kind of also tweeting in on this, or actually going ahead and submitting a chat question, which if you haven't already done that, please go ahead and submit some chat questions in there, and we can get around to talking about it. But, are we worried about a regression here? And I mean, I don't know how you can worry about a regression when you have a league average goalie anyways, right? What's he going to regress to?
I just don't think you can possibly say there's a regression when the entire league is having the same issues with goalie pads.
That's in Dave B in the chat saying, if it's the goalie pads, why aren't other goalies having as many issues as Jones? That's the point Eric is making. They are. Like, save percentage is down league wide. Scoring is up. So,
right.
Yeah.
And the other tidbit that Elliot Friedman was talking about here, they did a really, really good interview with Roberto Luongo. If you guys haven't already heard the 31 Thoughts podcast.
Just to let you know, every interview with Bobby Lou is pretty good.
yeah. Strombone one, right? So if you have not gone ahead and listened to that, I would highly recommend it. But they go into saying in the post-lockout era, and I'm talking 05-06 lockout, this has been the hardest season for goalies to adapt to, because it's not only been an issue of equipment sizing, but you're seeing across the entire league a renewed emphasis on offense and not on defense. So now you're seeing more of these let's trade high danger chances, because you've got teams like Toronto front and center as a team that doesn't have a lot of defensive depth and are really pushing the forwards to make those high danger chances. You're looking at Winnipeg, who's also, we just saw them, they're also willing to trade high danger chances with you. I mean, you've got maybe a couple outliers like the Predators. Pekka Rinne has still done pretty well up to this point. But you look over in that Atlantic division. I mean, Vasilevsky's making some great saves, but Tampa Bay is also scoring like 4 or 5 a game. So, I think it's not only are we seeing an uptick in goals because of equipment, but I also think it's because of structuring as well. So
we've been talking about goaltending for like 20 minutes now. I think it's time to move on. And by the way, the lockout was 04-05.
Sorry. I was saying since the 04-05 lockout in the 05-06 season, coming out of that.
Oh, okay.
I heard 05-06. Was I the only one? Or
no?
Okay.
Anyway, let's move on to the third.
Yeah, third period. So Alex,
the defensive blender has now been turned on. Burns started out there with Dylan while Vlasic was paired with Carlson. I don't even remember seeing Braun out there in the third. I mean, I saw Shimmick a few times. I don't even remember seeing Braun. You talk about a guy who had a very pedestrian game.
Yeah, Braun definitely did have a pedestrian game, and you're exactly right, AJ. That defensive line blender was in full effect. I mean, you had Carlson and Burns out there together. You had Braun and Dylan out there together. You had Vlasic and Carlson out there together. It was just whoever. I don't know.
Hey boys, who wants to go? Okay, go ahead.
You jump on the ice. You jump in the ice. Not you. You jump in the ice.
Oh, I'm telling you. But at 5:15 in the third, I follow. Oh, which by the way led to the best pun of the day. If you're on Twitter, if you ever heard of a band called the Gin Blossoms, anywhere you go, I follow you down. I have follow from Brown and Thompson, and that would make it 2-0. The fourth line would start to show some life and actually be the one line that crashed the net. If somebody has a gif of Goodrow trying to crawl his way to the puck, I would really appreciate that, because I was laughing my ass off when that happened. About 5 minutes later, though, Meyer with a Thornton-esque pass to Radil on the doorstep for a beautiful backdoor goal. This is a play that I constantly complain about, that the Sharks don't look for enough, especially if you're going to take those shots from the blue line, from the boards. You don't necessarily have to put it on net. Hit the guy who's sitting on the back door, who's got 3x6 sitting in front of him. I mean, Get
Right.
that there. Do more of that. And what would be really funny is 4 minutes later, Brown to Kopitar, they would try to pull the exact same play off.
Yep.
Yeah, it's playing on the half boards, right? It's that big player that's able to seal off the half boards and is able to funnel that puck directly into the slot, looking for the tip or looking for the one-timer. Timo Meier had some great vision there to see Radil. I really liked Radil crashing there. I mean, that guy plays with a reckless abandon that playoff Sorensen has, so I think it's really nice to see Radil inject that into the lineup. Al, what did you see on that goal?
I really love Radil this season. I think he's been a solid pickup for the Sharks. A surprise because I didn't think anyone coming in really knew his name coming in, but he's been a solid physical energy on that line, especially with Goodrow, especially on that line. Like I'm wondering what's his ceiling, but I'm really impressed with his effort this so far, last 5 or 6 games.
Yeah.
Both of the checks. I mean, you saw Simic throw down a greatly timed hit. I mean, if he was a half a second off on that hit, it would have been interference. But instead, he just levels a guy coming down the half wall. AJ, what'd you see on that hit?
Oh, Simic timed that perfectly. Just where I don't even think the player. I forget what king it was, but I don't think he thought that was anywhere close to happening. he seemed legitimately shocked. Like, oh, whoa, wait, what? No, I can't say enough good things about Simic at this point. I am liking Radil. It seems like that has begun to solidify that fourth line a little bit after them trying Charche and Suomela and whatnot. Suomela, by the way, starting to play some solid minutes for the CUDA and actually starting to get some time on the PK, which he had never played prior to coming to this side of the pond. So he's got to learn sometime, especially if you want to slide into that fourth line role and try to knock Melker off. But
yeah, if you want to play in the PDB system, you got to be that two-way player, right?
Yeah.
Sharks. Go ahead.
I was just going to say at 141, Jones was pulled, and at 1930, Pavs would tip a Burns slapper to send this one to overtime. Coincidentally enough, that's how the second game of the season this year, Sharks in LA, went to overtime. LeBanc having the overtime winner in that one. Too bad that did not happen today.
No, I mean, and as we said, we'll kind of preface the overtime with just kind of going over that goal. Burns from the back end, getting it on net, and Pavelski with a great tip. And look, the captain continues to bring it. I mean, the one consistent factor throughout the entire season is that Joe Pavelski has been there and been leading. And whether you think that's because he wants to get his last payday, or whether or not you think that's because he's just got that little motor that the team needs, he wills the Shark a point there, and the Sharks look dead to rights, and you get Joe Pavelski. I mean, dead to rights going into the final 5 minutes of the game, because then they really turned it on after that Radil goal.
I wonder if Pavelski's going to have to give some money to Burns or Carlson or any defensive line, or because it just seems like he's taking all the goals from Burns at this point.
Hey,
I mean, Burns should have 10 goals at this point. I mean,
yeah, but there's video. I mean, Burns and Pavelski practice this like at every practice. I think Burns would have no problem having 2 goals and like 60 assists if 40 of those assists are to Pavelski goals.
For Burns' benefit, though, I'm hoping there's no bonuses about goals as long as Pavelski's on this season, because it will never ever happen.
Well, yeah, either that or there's a clause in the bonus where it's like, if 40 of my assists go to Joe Pavelski, I get half of his goal scoring bonus or something.
Well, oh damn. Okay, the chat just took a turn. I have never ever seen Gen X able to time out puck guy.
I saw that too.
That is the most glorious thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's it. I'm out for you.
Oh, that's a good one. So let's.
Well, I'm glad we're laughing about it because we weren't laughing about that overtime.
Well,
AJ, I know you're going into it.
Well, no, I just wanted to finish up with Pavelski and all that. I mean, the guy he just tonight today game 36, and he's already scored more goals than all of last season. Obviously the wrist feels much better. He played a lot of last season with some injuries, so nice to see. It's just funny how it coincidentally occurs during a contract year. So
Marlowe did that a couple of times too. I remember him really turning it on with the goals with the contract looming.
I could break out a scroll of all the players who have mysteriously turned it on in a contract year. One of which that I could talk about is one Andrzej Kopitar. You talk about a guy who was snake bit in this game. He had the opportunity to give a 2-1 lead to the Kings, blew it. Then he had a breakaway and put it right over the net in overtime. This guy is absolutely snake bitten right now. But I do think that one of the bigger issues is there was some horrifically lazy line changes in this 3-on-3. Jumbo was absolutely gassed. I have no idea what the hell he was doing out there on the 3-on-3.
Yeah,
he was that last sequence where I think it was like Jumbo
and Kane and Carlson.
Yeah, well, I even remember I thought Burns there at one point, but
took half a shift, I think, with them.
Dude, Jumbo looked like he was playing in slow motion. I have no idea I'm sorry, but in that situation, especially when at that point, if you look at that, the 60 seconds leading up to that, from the time Couture went off the ice, you could see everybody on the Sharks, the bigger name guys, the Couture, Thornton, those guys were in slow motion, and LA was carrying the possession for most of that overtime. I'm sitting there going, where is Sorensen in all this? Like, one of your fastest guys. Where's Hurdle?
Where's Radil?
I'm looking for Hurdle, Sorensen, and Erik Karlsson in that situation.
LeBanc.
Oh yeah, or Timo. Yeah. Yeah, maybe even LeBanc. But
because we're looking for the speedy skill guys in the 3-on-3.
Yeah. But I'm also looking for that pivot. So, like Hurdle is a playmaker. Hurdle, Sorensen, and Karlsson, I thought because Karlsson has those ridiculously quick tape-to-tape passes, which would be money for a guy like Sorensen. And just catch him streaking over the line. And instead, you got Jumbo out there who's clearly just hoofing it at that point. So, we go back to, I think, what we all agreed on at the beginning is the Sharks stole a point out of this, and it's sad when they steal a point out of this. There's just no reason you don't beat the worst team in the league. But they steal a point. You came this close to beating Winnipeg. You had this great streak going, and other teams in your division are like doing you favors. Calgary has lost their last 3 games. It's like they're opening the door for you to hop up. I mean, get her done, boys. I mean, if you lose against Arizona tomorrow, oh man, if I'm PDB, I'm bag skating your asses on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, AJ. And Al, let's go ahead and give you the last say, and then we'll go to everybody's favorite segment.
I was kind of surprised I didn't hear anything from Hurdle. Kind of missing in action. Like, he didn't really do much. His speed was non-existent. I would have expected him on the 3-versus-3 in the OT. He's been kind of quiet the past couple of games. Like, I don't know what's going on with him. So that's, for me, what I'm going to be looking at next game against the Coyotes. Because if we get a similar game against the Coyotes, I could see the Sharks losing just because they're going to be asleep in the first period.
And it's, again, that lead up to the holiday break. Go ahead, AJ.
Well, I was just going to say, remember, though, that, halfway through this game, they put Hurdle at the pivot.
Yeah.
So, he's not out there playing with Couture and Meyer.
The other thing, too, is, Hurdle, we've seen it before where he starts to go into defensive first mode when he becomes the pivot, right? And we saw that when they were trying to shoehorn him into center, where he was making great plays. I mean, he was making good defensive plays. Face-offs were good. Just more of a, I guess, defensively first-minded player. And I kept hitting this drum. Hurdle as a center, good center, but don't expect the points to come. Hurdle as a winger, a lot more effective as a scorer and a playmaker.
I mean, if that's the case, I think LeBanc has a better shot than Hurdle. I think just as a pure talent, I think LeBanc has a shot, just like a pure shot.
Oh, shot.
Yeah. But I don't know why you would do that if you're not going to rely on, if they're going to try to turn him into the next Ovi, which makes literally no sense for Hurdle.
For the 34 of you now watching, I want to thank you, and thank you for coming in. We do this after every single Sharks game, so hit us up, hit subscribe if you would, hit the notification bell. Again, we go live after every single Sharks game, and sometimes we go live for other reasons.
Yeah, like expansion talk,
yeah, schedule releases,
hello Seattle,
all sorts of stuff. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. Follow us at Tealtown USA on Twitter and Instagram, and everything on the website at tealtownusa.com.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
It is that time again, folks. Grab your lotion for the no. It's time for the reach
put
around.
the goddamn lotion in the basket, okay?
Is it that type of after dark? And just
well, hey, so we'll go into another Pacific Division kind of game that's got some consequence to us. The Blues beat the Flames 3-1. And as AJ was saying, this is kind of the lost opportunity there where the Flames are just kind of shooting themselves royally in the foot, losing to St. Louis. David Perron, Tyler Bozak, and Oscar Sundqvist all with goals. Jake Allen, and I'm laughing because Jake Allen allows only one goal, and that's to Matthew Tkachuk on the power play. But St. Louis does the Sharks a real big favor there and takes out the Flames 3-1. The Golden Knights were in.
This is my point. Flames lose, Golden Knights lose. It's like Sharks, they're opening the door. Just walk through, man.
Yeah, exactly. Where the Canadiens beat the Golden Knights in overtime. The final of that one was 4-3. And we've got Danault with a hat trick. And Paul Byron with the overtime goal. Carey Price getting the win tonight. Brandon Puri, Marchessault, and Brandon Puri are your goal scorers for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Panthers starting to kind of claw their way back in, no pun intended. Beat the Red Wings 2-1. And go Panthers go, right? Blue Jackets beat the Flyers 4-3. And unfortunately, Carter Hart not getting the win on that one. But the goal scorers for Columbus, Zach Werenski, Cam Atkinson twice, and Panarin. Goalie Bob with the win. Going over to the Bruins and the Predators. The Bruins put a 5 spot on the Predators. And Pecorine gets hung out to dry on that one. Patrice Bergeron with 2 goals, Brad Marchand, David Pasternak, and Sean Corrale. If that name rings a bell for you, that was the prospect we gave up in the Jones trade. And then in our current games in progress so far, we've got the Coyotes on top of the Avalanche 1-0. There's 2 minutes, 41 seconds remaining in the first period. The Ducks are losing to the Sabres 1-0, 2 minutes left in the first period of that game. The Maple Leafs are leading the Rangers 1-0, 4 minutes left in the first in their game.
And who scored for the Maple Leafs?
For the Maple Leafs, that would be your Patrick Marleau.
Mm-hmm.
The Capitals beating the Senators right now 1-0. And we got
on a limb and say the Avalanche will beat the Coyotes because everybody below the Sharks should probably lose today, pissing off Sharks fans even more.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into the standings. I think there's a little bit of a silver lining here, but we'll go through it. And then the Penguins right now winning 1-0 against the Hurricanes. They're in their first intermission. So rolling around, as I was saying, I think we all kind of look at this glass half empty kind of here, but we really should point out the standings because they've gotten really interesting in the last, I'd say, 48 hours, where things have really gotten tight. In the Pacific, Calgary has 47 points, but they have the same number of games played as the Sharks now. And so the top three in the Pacific Division all have 37 games apiece played. San Jose holding up second spot right now with 44 points. We've got Al over here with the standings. Thank you, Al. We've got the Sharks with 44 points. So they're only 3 points back behind Calgary. And we've got some games against Calgary coming up. So, the Sharks still within, grapple distance of Calgary. And it's not as bleak as we think it is. I mean, because the Sharks
not as bleak, but the big thing is take advantage of your next 4 games that are all in division.
Exactly. And then we've got Anaheim, of course. They're playing their 38th game as we speak, but they've got 43 points. So it'd be nice to see them lose with the Sharks getting a game in hand. Vegas has 43 points. They are tied with Anaheim right now, but they've got 38 games played. So if the Ducks, if that 1-0 score still holds up, Vegas would leapfrog Anaheim for the third spot in the division. Edmonton, still kind of lurking back there. They've got 39 points, but they've got 2 games in hand on us, and they have 3 games in hand on Vegas and currently coming up on Anaheim. So, Edmonton.
The bigger thing with Edmonton, 6-3-1 over their last 10. I mean, they're starting to put things together a little bit and finding, Hitchcock is starting to come around there.
I do expect Edmonton to be one of the wild cards. And I do expect Anaheim to drop out of it. But it's almost Christmas. I don't know what's going on with the Ducks. Like, how are they doing this?
It literally should rename. Yes, the game, the Ducks shall now be henceforth known as the Anaheim Gibsons.
At this point,
yeah. But I mean, seriously, looking now at the tops in the division, Edmonton quietly having 105 goals against, and they're sporting the second best goals against in the Pacific Division. You've got Calgary number 1 at 103, but Edmonton at 105, and if they can get on the
Arizona at 94.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
And only 99 goals. That's for goal. That seems low for someone who has McDavid on their team.
99 goals, but a bitch ain't.
Yeah. But you can't. It's funny, but you can't have McDavid play the whole damn 60 minutes. I mean, as much as Hitchcock wants to. I don't.
Dude, he's the great one. You make him play all the minutes, like you just from start to finish. He is big Jesus here. You can do it all.
I thought he was the really, really good one. All right.
Going over to the Central, we'll just wrap it up real quickly. Winnipeg with 48 points. Of course, they've got 35 games played, so they're far and away the class of the West right now. Nashville, 46 points, 37 games played. Colorado, 36 games played, 44 points. The next closest team looking in on that wild card is going to be Vancouver, and boy, they're got so many games played, and they've got, they're 1 point out of it. I don't see how they're going to climb back in, and what happened to Dallas and Minnesota. We kept hearing, Central's going to run away with this. Central's going to run away with this. They're going to bring 5 teams to the playoffs. I don't see how, not with the way that those 2 teams are playing. So
Me neither. And Horvat, Besser, Pedersen goes down, and Vancouver goes on another like 6-game losing streak.
Oh yeah, and you know that John Gibson injury is coming too. So I would not.
With any luck, we play Anaheim in what, 3 days or 3 games, or well, 2 games. It's Arizona, then we have the holiday break, and then back versus Anaheim. So I would take that for Christmas.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Dallas make the second wild card and Edmonton make the first, just because Dallas has way too much forward depth. Like, they have a lot of good forwards on that team. With the way this year's been going with goals, this is that type of year for that type of team.
You better check the numbers there, my friend. Sagan, Radulov, and Jamie Benn are accounting for like 65% of their goal production.
Exactly, and one of those three
balanced team.
And one of those 3 are due for an injury, right? I mean, it's either Radulov or it's Sagan or it's Ben, but those guys are not the most durable. I mean, maybe Ben is probably the most durable out of the 3 of those, but even still, he gets injuries from time to time.
Yeah.
Heading over to the East in the Metro, we got Washington with 45 points, Columbus with 43. Pittsburgh with 40, they're back into the 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division. Everything is right in the world, and NBC is finally, coming off the ledge there. Tampa Bay leading the Atlantic Division with 56 points, clearing away the class of the NHL. Toronto with 48 points, Buffalo with 45 points. Boston and Montreal are your wild cards.
Oh, Gen X. It was so close, dude. It was so close. When you said that, I was like, that first line, I was like, oh, that reminds me of an ex-girlfriend. Oh, hey now. So let's move on to some friends of ours. That's right. It's time to talk about your San Jose Barracuda. Barracuda played themselves a hell of a game yesterday versus the Tucson Roadrunners. Exquisite game. They never led at all in this game, but won on a fantastic goal by the gentleman who came along with Erik Karlsson in that deal, Francis Perron, getting an awesome overtime sniper of a goal. Dylan Gambrell with the teddy bear toss goal to open the scoring for the Barracuda. And you saw quite possibly, go check out the Barracuda Twitter, one of the biggest bears I've ever seen ever. It took about 20 people to get it over the glass onto the ice. It was fantastic. But the Tucson Roadrunners are nipping at the heels of the Barracuda. And guess what? These two teams go at it again in about 70 minutes. So if you have AHL TV, go check it out. If you're anywhere near Stanley's Ice, Stanley's Bar at Solar for America Ice, you can watch the game over I'm sorry, that's only away games. Or just, go to the tank. Start the doors open in 8 minutes. So go get some Barracuda. I think I'm going to call Gambrell gets the opening goal today as well. So
Jerry chiming in the chat. That's the Costco 9-foot bear.
Is that what it doesn't surprise me, dude. It was huge. There was literally video of like 5 people carrying it around the concourse. It was spectacular. So
and we've got Al.
We got some
Johnny on the spot with those standings.
So as you can see, the Tucson Roadrunners are nipping at their heels. Last night's goal was huge, and you'll remember earlier, let's see here, back in November 9th and 10th, the CUDA had back-to-backs in Tucson and lost both of those. So it would be really nice to win both of these here at the tank in a big, big way. And then get 2 more after the holidays, Colorado and San Diego, and then get to spend New Year's Eve. And if you don't have any plans for New Year's Eve, take a drive up to Stockton, catch some CUDA Heat hockey.
Before Al zoomed out of that beautiful standings page, we saw the San Jose Barracuda sporting a nice goals against of 60 on the entire year. That is a plus 29 goal differential.
That was killer. Couple things in the chat. The bear didn't get stuck in the rafters. It actually got stuck in the netting. It's pretty funny.
I thought I got stuck in the glass, or was that just
No,
Yeah.
no, just got stuck in the netting. Fila, I'm curious now, how many people in chat right now use purely Apple products?
Me.
I'm one of them. But
Yep.
anyway.
guilty?
Yep. All right. So that's a wrap from here.
Let it be, as I say.
Yes. After losing in overtime, 3-2 to LA, we move on to game 37 tomorrow versus Arizona. I'm quite sure Arizona might even import Mike Smith to play this one. No, I'm kidding. So I would expect that Dell will get the start. If he doesn't, there's something seriously wrong. I'm actually interested to see who will get the start tomorrow for the Coyotes, because Aiden Hill had like a week to remember, and then he's kind of fallen off a cliff since then. And then who knows? You never know what's going on with Darcy Kemper and Antiranta. But this
most likely I see Dell starting, but because it is a division opponent, I can also see Jones starting, just because you want to get those points in division.
Oh God, no!
No,
don't even put that in the universe, man.
Well, no, you can't sit there and say, well, division thing, because the Sharks are in the middle of playing 5 division opponents in a row. You have to get Dell time. This is the most opportune time to do it with the holiday break coming. So, and it's a back-to-back. Just give Dell the start, which you should have done today. Damn it!
Just buy him a Dell already, okay?
Oh man, not with those jokes again.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already, please go ahead and submit your final questions. We're going to be wrapping it up here quickly. AJ, anything you're looking for tomorrow besides the goaltending matchup? Are you circle any of the forwards, or maybe looking at those line blenders combinations again? What are you thinking?
No, I think PDB will go back to the normal lines, the normal, pairings on the blue line. If anything, it's crash the net, get into the slot, get away from taking the slappers from the blue line again. Get back to what was making you successful before. They had that string of wins, and if you looked, 85-90% of their goals were coming from within 7 feet of the paint. So get back to crashing the net and just playing that hard-nosed hockey that we see typically from a Hurdle, a Pavelski, a Shimmick, and a Sorensen. Let's see that. And God, I'll be honest with you. I'd consider even giving Thornton the day off tomorrow. I mean, I was just from what I saw in overtime, it's like, do you need an extra day? I mean,
isn't the plan to rest him every 4 games?
I don't know if the plan is to rest him every 4 games, but
it seems like it.
But it also wouldn't surprise me to start to see Jumbo be thrown into that role with Kane and Pavelski again, because PDB, he's got that heart on for Jumbo and Joe.
See, but Jumbo has just shown so much chemistry with Sorensen over the last couple of weeks. So,
I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's asinine, but
and leave him out there with LeBanc, so LeBanc will maybe work on his shot and stop his pass first mentality, and maybe I should shoot more.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten much in the chat, so I think we're going to end it here, guys. AJ, I want you to go ahead and wrap this up with your last thoughts and where the people can find you.
There could be Barracuda After Dark. We shall see. I'm AJ_Strong on the Twitter, on the Instagram. Also throwing up some grams for Teal Town USA on occasion. I saw earlier Steve Cropper wanted me to show off the studio and the swag. It's all on Instagram. If you want me to do a video for later, I will. But it's all on the gram. We don't have time to waste for that here, but I can do something separate. And look out. We will have a special interview rolling at the beginning of the year that I've got locked in, just getting a date and time, but I've already got a commitment. And Edmonton is coming up. You know what that means, people. That typically means at some point we're going to talk to Drew Remenda. So look for that. And check. You might want to follow our Instagram. There might be something pretty funny happening on the 24th.
All right, Al. Where can the people find you and your final thoughts?
All right. So 2 things. 1, go Chargers. And number 2,
Oh God.
Number 2, I don't think if Dell starts, I think Ryan is also going to take the place of Braun tomorrow, just to give both rest.
Ooh, that's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Hey,
That's what I'm saying.
he hasn't played in 3 games, so I think it's time to get him
I
on
think
the
it's been
ice.
longer than that.
It's been longer than that.
Yeah, you talk. Hold on. Who did you say? You said Ryan?
Ryan.
Dude, Ryan has been out for like 7 games, dude.
Yeah, since
Excuse me,
Simic came
7
in.
games.
Yeah.
So it's time to get him back on the ice.
Dude, do you even Sharks, bro?
Yeah.
Do you have it, Sharks?
Yeah.
Do you have it? God. But I've said all I needed to say about this game. I thought the Sharks came out slow, and they paid for it. You can find me on Twitter at Al Martinet. I'm free to chat hockey all the time there.
And I'm Eric Landi. You can use my first name, Eric, E-R-I-K. That's spelled the right way. And Landi, L-A-N-D-I. First, last name. Throw it in all the social media garbage and find me there. For everybody at Teal Town, USA, thank you so much for subscribing and staying with us and coming aboard in this afternoon matinee with AJ to send us off. Go ahead, AJ.
Hey, everybody. Drew Remenda here. You're listening to another podcast from Teal Town, USA.
All right. There's Drew Remenda. He's signing us off. So we'll see you tomorrow after the Coyotes game.